evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Glen Kuiper Show here on my YouTube channel. It's our first minor league edition of the Glen Kuiper Show, and we got the perfect guest for that. We'll introduce him in just a moment as we will slide through the Giants minor league system for 2026. Games are just starting to get underway for the minor leaguers, and a lot of good things to talk about. As far as the Giants minor league system goes, it is growing and it is getting better, and certainly that is great news. So we're going to have fun tonight. Before we get going, we got to let you know that our sponsors, of course, Original Joe's. Let's give a shout out to my new favorite restaurant, obviously in the East Bay, the new Original Joe's, Walnut Creek, right downtown in Broadway Plaza. Go check it out. Coming home from a Giants game, stop there, get some dinner. You may see me there. You may see me there. You may see my brother there. We're there all the time. But terrific food, terrific atmosphere. You're going to love it. Give it a shot right there in downtown Walnut Creek, the new Original Joe's. We're also brought to you by our good friends at Tilden Properties, Bay Area-based and family-owned. If you invest with Tilden Properties, you will be building investment wealth with Tilden Properties. They're right there with you, right on through it. I'm telling you, folks, you'll see quarterly dividends, equity buildup. You're in the real estate market. You're in the California real estate market. What more do you want? Tilden Properties. Give them a call at 925-209-8558 or go to their website and check out their portfolio, tildenproperties.com. We're also brought to you in part by the Kehrig Real Estate Team, family-owned. Been serving clients in Danville, Alamo, San Ramon, and all across the Bay Area for nearly 50 years. Now, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, connect with Mike Kehrig. You can do that by going to mike@kehrigteam.com. That's Kehrig. So mike@kehrigteam.com. You're going to get trusted local guidance from a team that truly knows the Bay Area. It's the Kehrig Real Estate Team. Website is kehrigteam.com. Phone call 925-548-4132 if you're interested in buying or selling your home. All right, so let's get to our show tonight. We're excited to talk Giants baseball from the minor league system side. We got a great guest. This is the guy you want to go to if you want to talk about the Giants minor league system. His name is Kyle Haynes. He's the senior director of player development for the Giants. We've had Kyle on many times. Terrific guest. He's always very kind to come on with us. Kyle, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Hey, so I see you in spring training. There's always a lot going on. And I thought about you yesterday. Things have probably calmed down a little bit at Papago Park, right? Now that at least your minor league teams, except for the complex team, they're all scattered out and everybody's in their proper city now. So you catching a break a little bit or not really?
Not really. AAA is going strong. So that's lining up the pitching there. You're always ready to pivot. Even like when you see Budo walk off the mound tonight, they're instantly go into, okay, what do we need to be prepared for in all scenarios there, including transportation if needed on anyone. But I did go to Papago today. It was kind of weird, quiet there because we gave the group some time off. But, we got everybody flew to their affiliates, and we're excited to get everybody going, not just AAA.
Hey, Kyle, when all the minor leaguers are there, and I saw it, I was over there a couple times. Are you just, in your regular day, are you just moving around from field to field? I know you have office work, so to speak. You got paperwork to do, but do you try to bounce around, see as many games as possible? And I'm talking about spring training.
Yeah, some days are a little more strategic than others, especially trying to see certain players or certain groups. Also try to be a resource for the coaches too. I think I spend a lot of my time just kind of observing the coaches and I don't want to say scouting them, but trying to give them feedback as well on the way drills could have went better, their teaching styles, their cues, their verbal cues, were they internal, were they external? Did they show energy? Did they give us enough hustle to try to get the energy? Because I always feel like a lot of the development, especially those backfields, Glenn, as you've seen them, if you're not careful, they get like Groundhog Day. So the coaches really got to bring it, so sometimes I want to see infielders, sometimes it's outfielders, sometimes it's older players, younger players. And I try to be strategic personally on, maybe certain days. But if you try to bounce from field to field, you can get overwhelmed real quick.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's not just the players though that you're evaluating and you're keeping an eye on, for lack of a better phrase. It's the coaches as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that's probably even a bigger part of my job. We have to have our organizational philosophies flow through them. And, we give them a lot of direction and we give them a lot of freedom as well to do it in their own style. So, a big part of that is we got 55 coaches that are on minor league staff there or so, and more when you don't include the people wearing uniforms. So you're kind of, trying to give them feedback and guidance as well, because at the end of the day, we're nothing without them. If they're dialed in and they're doing well, we just get to sit back and watch the games and kind of, not have to worry about, the teachings that are going on.
Our guest is Kyle Haynes, the Giants Senior Director of Player Development. And Kyle, when the season starts, and I know AAA just gets underway or is underway, and the other teams are ready to go as well. But when everybody's playing, how often do you connect with each of your minor league teams' managers? Is it every day?
I try to, yeah. It's when we have all 7 teams going, it gets overwhelming. We got our 2 DSL teams as well. So I'll wake up in the morning and I'll turn the TV on and our DSL team's already getting ready to get started if I'm on the West Coast. But I talked to our AAA manager, Dave Brundage, I've talked to him probably 4 times already today, maybe more. I lose track. I talked to Dave Brundage and Alan Keano, our AAA pitching coach. They've both done a great job throughout the years as all this shuttling's happen around. Imagine the fans seeing the transactions and the effects on them. But I've talked to the both. I bet I've called the 2 of them 7 or 8 times today, and then I'll try to check in with each manager every couple days at least, or text. Text helps.
What's a typical conversation? Is it just simply this guy's hot, this guy's not? We like what we're seeing from this guy. I mean, if you're doing it every day, I mean, you're obviously on top of everything that's going on. But what's a conversation like?
Yeah, today was. Let's see. I could tell you a few topics. Eric Haas was activated today. We signed him. He took his release a few days ago. Explored some opportunities, and he was excited to come back. So talked him through that. We talked him through the lineup on. We kind of are a little short on catching for today. So Thomas Gavello has to play short because we lost Fitzgerald. So when you lose Fitzgerald, now our AAA team is down a shortstop until Basabe is ready to come off the IL on Friday. Okay. John Michael Bertrand's going today. We talked about maybe extending his pitch count out a little bit to try to help some of that bullpen just in case the major leagues needs pitching. We played Jesus at second base because if we DH'd him, then, if something happened to Haas, the catcher, then you have to pull the DH, and we don't want to do that and have a pitcher hit. So just a lot of stuff like that. A lot of the lineup, where to hit certain guys, talk through the bullpen usage, a lot of that.
And that's just for one team. That's crazy. How often do you speak with Buster or Zach or Randy Wynn, who's in charge of the minor leagues? Is that a daily thing, or is that not quite that often?
Yeah, text. Those are more text conversations, just because it gets harder and harder to have the interpersonal calls. That's why I love being in San Francisco at home games, because I can just sit in a box and talk with them, whatever's on my mind. But when the major league team's on the road, or if I'm on the road, it's usually a lot of text messages and, just giving them updates on, our new pitcher, Dylan Smith, who we just got. He just arrived, and taking him through, he hadn't been throwing for a few days, and, talking through his progression, or, some of the 40-man guys. So we'll text back and forth more so with that group, just because sometimes they're real quick hitters versus longer conversations.
And so when you're in your office, Kyle, obviously you have the ability to watch all the minor league games. So do you have 3-4 screens going sometimes at one time, and you can keep an eye on all the games? I know the guys up here in San Francisco, Buster and Zach, when they sit in, Randy and a lot of the front office people, I know they have all the games on as well. And so you just sit there and watch them all?
Yeah. Yep, I do. Well, the help is that Richmond is on the East Coast time for me. So like I said, I could wake up in the morning, and our Dominican Summer League is starting at 7:30 in the morning. So I can get rolling at 6 or 6:30, get my coffee going, check in with them. I'll turn it on the live stream, and technology is an amazing thing, Glenn, because now we can watch every league rep. And I'll watch those in the morning. And then Richmond will start whatever 3:30 in the afternoon on the West Coast. And then we'll have our Arizona League team maybe at night or some of these, and I'll put 4 games on, or I'll get my iPad going. And if I go to eat dinner, I drive people crazy because I'm watching at least one game on my phone. So, yeah.
It just means you're good at what you do, Kyle. Hey, let's get to the fans love to hear, and the fans that are watching out there. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section, and if we can, we'll see if Kyle can answer them. But what I wanted to do tonight, Kyle, is we're going to go through the names of the prospects that we all know. We saw some of them in spring training, but I also want to kind of use the angle with you of what does this kid have to do to get to the big leagues? What does that kid have to do to get to the big leagues? I'm not talking about a timetable. I'm just saying from where do they need to continue to develop? So let's start with Bryce Eldridge, who's sort of the natural one to start with. We know he's close to the big leagues. What did you see from him in spring training that you liked? And what did you see that you said, hey, you know what? Let's polish him up just a little bit more before he, gets that call up to the big leagues? Because this was a big conversation piece all spring training.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say even outside of Bryce, for every player now, we used to, Glenn, I mean, I'm pretty sure you used to heard that you weren't even considered to get called up until you had 1,500 at bats in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
That was always a very popular saying just not that long ago among, veteran baseball people was you need 1,500 at bats to even be considered. And now we're seeing guys get called up with 700, 800 at bats in the minors. I think pitchers are getting half the amount of the innings that they used to get in the minors. So with that said, there's a lot of development that still will always have to happen at that major league level, not just the game speed, but defense, base running, right? That's half the amount of base running reps if you're going up at 700, 800 at bats in the minors versus the 1,500 barrier. That's half the amount of base running. That's half amount of the defense. That's half amount of pitchers holding runners, et cetera. So, on Bryce in particular, I think the one takeaway from spring training was that the upward arrow on this defense is really getting stronger. I mean, a year ago, I was pretty nervous about it, to be honest, because I know he worked really hard at it and he was still doing well, but I knew the bat was going to rush him up to the major leagues, maybe a little more uncomfortable with the defense. But he's gotten to the point now where I think Wash did a phenomenal job with him this spring. And I think that's a big takeaway. I thought him and Ron Washington hit it off, and they took his development to even another level. And I thought that was a great takeaway for him. Because if he can DH and play first, and Devers can DH and play first, that's a whole new game for both players, not just for Bryce.
Yeah.
I think the one thing for me is just the empty at bats is something that we're going to keep an eye on to see, when he's ready, really ready, because right now there is too many of the at bats end up without the ball going in play and those strikeouts. And unfortunately with power hitters, you're always going to have a little bit of a sliding scale where they're just going to punch outs come with those territories with power. And if you don't want power and you probably don't have the strikeouts. So, you get your Arias, your more singles, low strikeouts, or you get your power. That's just the way it goes sometimes is the power guys just strike out. But we know he's going to strike out, but how can we make those at bat quality just a little more consistent to where, the ball's just not going in play if it's not driven.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. What about Jesus Rodriguez? It seemed like he was known going into spring training, but it looked like he opened even more eyes. I thought he was fun to watch hit. Looks like he's got an idea up there. He's aggressive. I know that I don't want to say knock. That's not the right word, but I know what you guys sounded like you wanted to see was a little more refinement behind the plate catching. But then now, you said he's playing second base. He's playing third. I saw him in the outfield in spring training. Tell us about Rodriguez, because I get the feeling that he's not far away from the big leagues. What do you want to see from him as far as polishing things up a little bit?
You're spot on. I think Well, I think playing the many positions, number one, it helps him get onto the roster when the need arises because he doesn't have to be a second catcher or a first catcher. He could be a third catcher who plays second, left, first. To your point, like it gives him so many more avenues. I do think that catching is going to be a big part of his game. I think he has shown that he can receive at an average level. He can frame. He can call a phenomenal game. The blocking. Just different organizational philosophies. I know New York, the Yankees, New York, they really emphasize framing over blocking. So that was something really new for him with us, is that we want the more well-rounded catcher and say, hey, like you still got to, work on your blocking because we don't want to, gain a few strikes here and then give up a blockable ball. None of them are easy for what it's worth. But so I think blocking comes to mind, and how well is he handling some of those off-speed pitches. We're gonna keep encouraging Keaton Wynn to throw splitters and try to get chased down, and we got to make sure that they're not getting away. But I think that his throwing, the arm strength has come back, but I think we could continue to emphasize that. And I think I'm a diehard Giant here. Like I think we've been spoiled with catchers for a long time. One of them gets to run our whole operation now, but Patrick Bailey's really dang good, and we're kind of used to that Gold Glove defense, so the bar is pretty high for Jesus.
Yeah, but the hit tool is there, right? I mean, it's legit.
It's legit. It's definitely more on the contact singles, doubles than Bryce. So I don't expect him to be launching balls into the second deck. He can hit a homer here and there, but definitely more of the line drive, all fields, put the bat on the ball profile than the power profile.
Now, I've talked a lot about these young pitchers, the young starters that you have in AAA. I've talked about it a lot, really, the entire offseason. Unfortunately, Birdsong's going to be out now, but in Sacramento, you have Tidwell and Wisenhunt and Seymour and McDonald. You have this group of talented young kids. Are they, how close are they to becoming a mainstay in the rotation? We don't know that yet, but there is talent there. But it looks like kind of like almost each one of them is close, but not quite there yet. How close of an evaluation is that?
You're spot on. I mean, they're all missing just one little small, I don't say small, it's like that last step to separate them from big leaguer to impact big leaguer. Each one's just missing one little sliver there. It's a little different. I thought Wisenhunt, I don't know if you saw it, Glenn, he pitched really well in AAA opening night the other night. Yeah. I thought he pitched really well. He gave up a few cheap hits. But I think the one habit for him he's got to get out of, he can't just every time he gets into a bind throw his changeup, because then he starts kind of getting that slower arm down, and we're losing a little fastball velo. So we got to keep that velo up, the intent level up, and I think throwing a few more sliders there will keep people honest off that double plus changeup. So if we can get him rolling, he pitched phenomenal the other night. I think he could step up. I think with McDonald, Seymour, Tidwell, they're kind of the same boat where I think, unfortunately, we might need them in the bullpen a little bit quicker than we really maybe want to. And I think we're going to have to balance all year their last step of their development on the starting side in AAA versus, hopefully this major league team can stay together and we're not forcing them, to throw the 8th or 9th inning and then having to start them, later in the year or down next year.
What about Barracuda? We saw him kind of emerge in spring training. Had a terrific spring. He's in AAA. So, one step from the big leagues, but there's also a lot of outfielders. There's a lot of quality outfielders in Sacramento. And, you got 3 starters at the big league level that are going to play every day. But it looked like Barracuda opened some eyes in spring training. What does he need to do? Where does he need to get better to be considered? Hey, if somebody happened, if Ramos got hurt or something like that, what does he need? What does he need to get to?
Yeah, I think it starts with the bat. I don't say all the values in the bat, but he needs to hit, and he's got power. He actually makes contact. It's not a lot of swing and miss. For him, the big one's going to be when we see guys who chase in the minors, it tends to not play well in the big leagues just because the big league pitchers, if they can get you to chase a little better stuff than you see in the minors, it's not going to go well for you. So I think the big one there is how aggressive can this guy be in the strike zone? That for me is like the message. We don't want to take somebody's aggressiveness away from him, but make sure it's aggressive within the strike zone. It's already hard enough to hit the big league pitching in the zone. So I think a little bit of that zone discipline, and then obviously just sharpening up the defense a little bit. He kind of plays two corner outfield well, first base okay. It'd be good to see a big step forward there as well, because he's, I mean, it's kind of hard to believe he's 24 years old. I mean, he's younger than some guys we drafted last year, Glenn, if you can believe that. And, he's been with us, and I've personally seen him since he was 16 years old. So I'm really rooting hard for this one. It's been a great growth story. I mean, it really has.
Kyle Haynes, the Senior Director of Player Development for the Giants, is our guest. Let's go to Double-A, where Bo Davidson's going to start. We got a nice look at him in spring training. I know you guys are super high on him, but really, really a good-looking athlete. Good power, seems to glide around pretty nice in the outfield. What do you want to see from Bo Davidson this summer to get him to the next level?
Yeah, for me, the big one is I think he's going to be a plus corner outfielder, Glenn. And I think now we've made him into, an average or even at times above average center fielder. I think if we can keep him in center field, that's going to be a big question, just because that makes him fit into more lineups. It makes him fit in there more. So I think the center field question and development for him probably is number one. The obvious is to, make sure that he can transition to the Double-A level. That's a meat grinder. That Eastern League is tough. I mean, you're talking league average OPS is, I don't know, sometimes 690, sometimes 700, 710. Whereas like in the PCL, it's like 780. I mean, we're talking.
Is it just the weather? I mean, is it the weather, or what makes it difficult?
Yeah, it's the cooler weather early, but also the ballparks on the whole are usually a little bigger.
Okay.
But then also the pitching is really tough. I mean, a lot of these guys, I think it was McLean and Tong from the Mets last year.
Sure.
We're facing those guys. We're facing, Tolle and Early and these guys from the Red Sox. And, you just keep naming, a lot of those arms you saw in the playoffs for those, AL, NL Central East teams. Like, even a lot of those Detroit players that you're facing some pretty top tier arms. Even Paul Skeens pitched a little bit in Altoona. So it's you're facing a legitimate near ready major league starter, seemingly 4 out of the 6 games in a series.
Wow. High A is in Eugene. Looks like Dakota Jordan's going to start there. The toolsy outfielder who's very good in San Jose last year. We saw Jordan get called up, fill in a little bit in the spring training games. He looks the part, that's for sure. Big, strong, athletic kid. Good year last year. Where do you want to see improvements with Dakota Jordan?
I think first and foremost, just stay on the field. He had a couple injuries last year that took out some playing time and probably stopped him from a promotion to Eugene. They're probably late in the year. We probably would have moved him up, but he had an oblique injury. So number one, stay on the field. I think you hit the nail on the head, Glenn. This guy, he's got every physical tool needed to be a star player. I'll be honest. I'm a little hard on the prospect publications when they call me, and I go, how is Dakota Jordan not on these top 100 lists? I go, he'll put every tool against any player on there, and he can match them. And I think they still don't have an answer for me, and I think they know it. But I think the big part for me, Dakota, A+ teammate, makeup. This guy's a leader. Obviously we can talk about hitting, fielding, pitching, stuff like that all day on players, but who fits in the locker room, and Dakota, he's one of those guys that easy root for. So what does he need to do? Number one's health. And I think number two is continue the center field development, kind of repeating my Bo Davidson comments earlier. Because if he can stay in center field, this is like all-star center field caliber player. Wow.
What about Parks Harbor? I know he impressed you guys after coming over from the Yankees. I know he's a little banged up, so you may not see him right away, but he will be in Eugene, correct? When he's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, we're going to sign him to Richmond, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I know he finished last year splitting between the A-ball levels, but he's going to start in. He's actually technically going to start in extended spring because he had the hamstring strain at the end of camp. So he's still recovering there. He's hitting in the cages, which is a good sign. And now we just got to get the running progressed. So once we get him progressed, we anticipate he'll join that Richmond team. I don't have a time frame, but I'm hoping just, a matter of a couple weeks, maybe something like that.
Okay. And I saw where last year's number one pick, Gavin Keelan's going to be in Eugene. Trevor Cohen, a high pick last year. Looks like he's going to be in Eugene. Gutierrez, the left-handed hitter, outfielder, he's going to be there. So that's going to be an interesting team. What do you want to see from Keelan? I know he wasn't healthy either when you got him out of Tennessee. He was a little banged up. So I would imagine you're really looking forward to seeing him get a bunch of at-bats. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's the big one, right? He had hamstring in college, and then he showed up to us and he tried to play, and then eventually said, hey, my hip's been bothering me and I need some answers. And he had a little bit of a bone bruise in there. And I don't think we truly got to see the real Gavin last summer. This spring, he's been phenomenal. He's actually played a little better shortstop than I thought he was going to. And that's where we're going to put him a lot at shortstop, Eugene. And we're going to give him a lot of runway there to try to, show us if he can play it short. I know there's kind of debate short or second base, but it's a really good hitter. And I think he's a hit tool first, power second. But I think based on the spring he had, it was a really positive one for him. And I think, he answered some questions that we had, was it short or second? And we were really intrigued by the short. And he really was moving well in the batter's box too this spring.
Well, you want to play a kid as short as long as you can, right?
Yeah. Well, we have a good problem to have though, Glenn, because as you keep going further down, we got all kinds of shortstops, and I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get all these guys on the field and play short without their agents all yelling at me. So,
hey, what about Trevor Cohen? What a nice looking hitter. Third round pick last year. I know he had a great year in San Jose after he got drafted. Tell us about Trevor Cohen. What improvement do you want to see from him this year?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Going back to Dakota and Bo a little bit is. Trevor's going to play some right field for us, but he didn't play center field in college, which is we're seeing more of. A lot of these guys that kind of profile as pro center fielders are playing right field in college. It seems like, I flash back to Christian Yelich. The story was he played first base in high school. So, you never know when guys are out of position. I feel like Trevor, he needs to learn that outfield, whether it be right or center. Obviously, it's always good in Oracle Park to have someone capable of playing center and right field with that big right field. But I think that's a big one. Would love to see him become a base stealing threat on the bases at this level. But you said it, this guy's a hitter, like hitter first, power second, but he's a very professional hitter. And I think a lot of teams are probably grilling their amateur scouts right now, wondering why they didn't have him higher on their board, because, this amount is as many times as teams ask for him in trades, you can tell that they
really?
higher than a third round pick. I mean, he was. Yeah, it was interesting to see how teams valued him, because they valued him extremely high this offseason. And I think that's how quick he made a quick impression on everybody, including us.
That usually tells you a lot what other teams think of your guys, right? Hey, we got a question, Kyle. Interesting. I want to see what you think about this. It's from Elephant 2024. Do you think that 6 starter pitching rotations are eventually going to become the norm in Major League Baseball? And we do see that some in the minor leagues, right? I mean, how are the Giants dealing with their minor league pitching rotations? Do you use 6 guys?
We do at times. First of all, this is a phenomenal question. I'm a baseball fan at heart, and I'm always brainstorming on ways it's going to get better. I actually think Major League Baseball will have 6-man rotations soon.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Why is that?
I think just starter health in general, and starting pitching so expensive to acquire that the days we're going to look back at Logan Webb, and he's going to become this like, hey, remember when Webb went 200 innings? And like we're going to talk to I think we're probably 15 years away from that. But I think number one, I think people are just going to try to pivot to see how we can keep starters healthier, just because the pitching injuries keep going up. They're very the top of the rotation starters are very expensive to acquire, either in trade capital, et cetera. And then also you can do a little bit of more development and pitch design between sessions when you have a 6-man rotation versus a 5, just because that bullpen session between starts really helps kind of sharpen your arsenal up, and you can get a little better intent. In the minors, we have every Monday off now, and that's been a huge pivot since I got this job, Glenn, because we used to play, I don't know, you've seen it, I don't know, 25 to 30 games in a row.
Oh, it was brutal. Yeah,
Right.
brutal.
Well, now it's really hard to have a 5-man rotation, because if you're a 5-man rotation, every Monday's off, it pushes everyone back. So we've been running somewhere between 5 and 6-man rotations in the minors a lot. And then we do piggybacks at the lower levels, where we essentially try to give as many guys the chance to start as possible. And, I think San Jose's team last year, at times we had like 9 starters. So we'd start 5 or 6 of them and then have the other ones come behind them, and then rotate them each week on who was the starter and then who was coming in out of the bullpen to throw, 4 innings out of the bullpen.
But our guys, when you do that, Kyle, are guys getting enough innings? I mean, that's a concern too, right? I mean, you want, if a guy's healthy and he's one of your guys in the minor leagues, you would like to see the innings pitch total get elevated, right?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a weird dynamic where it's almost, there's like a huge correlation that if you're in low A or something and you throw 180 innings, how the next year you get injured. It's not even that year, it's usually the future innings years. So you're trying to balance, like, what is the right number? If a pitcher stays healthy doing that, they're going to get to that total. Where we get into trouble is these like obliques and hamstrings set a pitcher back mid-season, and then by the time you get them back in shape and their pitch count build up, now you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those are a bigger hindrance than people realize. Not just the arm injuries, but if guys hurt themselves lifting weights, or if they hurt their hamstring running, or their oblique doing something, now all of a sudden they're down 6 weeks, takes another 3-4 weeks to get them built up. And we've missed a pretty big hunk of the middle of the year when they should have been accumulating, 40, 50 innings.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Hey, speaking of pitching, give us an update on Jacob Bresnahan. I know he was terrific last year, a little setback from what I understand, nothing serious. When will he be ready to go, and where will he go when he is ready?
Yeah, he'll go to Eugene when he's healthy.
Okay.
He's healthy. Let me say that again. He is 100%, and he so he actually pitched, I don't know, a couple times at the end of spring training for us on the minor league side. His pitch count is just really low.
Okay.
So he was really good. We faced the Reds the other day. He threw, I think it was just an inning, and he basically sat right around 94, 95 up to 97. So it was really nice to see that velo up. But we got to get his pitch count up. So once we get the pitch count up, he'll be in Eugene. Let's give it, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks or so. But we want to get that pitch count up before he's sent out.
And the group in San Jose, you saw it a little bit last year. It's a very nice group of young starting pitchers. Is that correct? Guys that I know you're super high on, because we talked about them last year, and guys that could, move quickly if they're having a good year down in San Jose.
Yeah, it's well, Glenn, I'm going to self-admit, I think you never have enough starting pitching, and that group is fun to watch. But I do think as strong as we are in the lower level shortstop and outfield, I know you mentioned all those names going to Eugene alone. They're all center fielders, like 4 center fielders. But I would say our starting pitching is thin. But that group you mentioned is the one little bright spot that we have, where I thought they really stepped up last year. Keener Martinez, Luis De La Torre. Hopefully Kayama has a big breakout year this year, and others as well. Too many to name, but Bresnahan's kind of the leader of that group. But Luis De La Torre, I think, is the guy we could see move quick. He's going to be Rule 5 eligible after this year too, so it's a big year for him, and one that we need to see him challenge, so that way he's, we can make a decision on him at the end of the year if he's roster worthy or not.
Kyle, like I said, the middle infield is where the depth's at, and you got a good one in San Jose and Johnny Level. I know he made it there last year. He'll start there again. Good player, not a big guy, but looks like plays with some spark. What do you want to see from him? Where's the improvement need to come from for Johnny Level?
Well, he's a switch hitter, can really hit. I don't question the bat at all, at least not at this moment. I think the bat can move him fast. I think the bat could probably move him a little faster than the defense is ready for. He's playing short now. He's fine at short, but I think the big question mark is he going to be a major league shortstop or major league second baseman?
Mhm.
So I think that's the big one as far as that goes for me. Glenn, is big question for him is what defensive position is this guy going to play? Because he looks like he could hit. I mean, he looks like a shorter Kentel Marte or something. Hopefully, but this guy can hit. He's got little man power too, little mighty mouse.
Kyle, another question from Bake That Dough. You mentioned pitching injuries are up. Why is that these days? Are there perhaps bad habits early on, well before they even reach pro ball? It's a good question.
Phenomenal, and spot on. Yes. So we sit through farm director meetings all in the off season. They will present us with the findings. MLB does a great job with their medical department researching. Mm-hmm. I know this is like my 8th one I've set in, and every year there's a graph that just shows it straight up. For the last 25 years, we are on a straight line up on pitching injuries in general. I think part of that is we probably diagnose a little more aggressively. I'm sure flashing back 25 years ago, there's guys with frayed UCLs and stripping of the UCL, and they were just like, hey, you better keep throwing because we don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So that might be part of it. But the bad habits that is mentioned in this question is 100% there. We MRI every pitcher and every player when they get drafted by us, or even the international. And these MRIs, shoulders, elbows, even lower backs are very, they're pretty beat up. They're beat up really bad. And
even at that age, even at a young age like that.
Absolutely. And you just see the when you go through stresses in the elbow, you see the bone, calcium being laid down in spots and bone spurring and, stripping of ligaments. So I'm not saying they need surgery, but what you see is something that just shows a lot of, chronic, stress on elbows and shoulders, and in particular on pitching. And I think I can't help but think a big part of it is the youth model's broken in baseball. I think it needs a reforming, and the tryout culture, it needs a reform because guys are beat up pretty good when they sign with us. So then we get that, and the number one predictor of future injury is past injury. So guys that show up with past injuries, they're like 10 times more likely to get hurt.
Wow. And we have a super chat. Actually, Kyle, what happens is people pay to ask this question. So we have to get it in, and we want to get it in. But
okay.
What's your favorite single pitch in the system?
So,
interesting. I mean, is there one that you're starting to see more of? Because now the sweeper is the thing, Kyle. The sweeper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You mean a slider? You mean a slider?
Cutter, sweeper, slider. They're really all kind of the same thing, just different size breaks. But
yeah. I call it the Sergio Romo slider. I mean, that is honestly Sergio. He was like the poster child for the sweeper. My single favorite pitch. First of all, actually, sweeper usage is starting to go down, Glenn. If you can believe it. That's how trendy it was. I'm still a big fan of like a kick change.
Really?
Yeah. It's
that's a new one too, though. That's kind of a new one.
It is a new. It's kind of new. It's basically just a change up, Glenn, where it's like it's basically where I remember Lincecum never really threw a change up. He threw like this Vulcan one, if I remember, where it was like he had a kind of unique grip, and he had a version of the kick change where basically it would just kick the axis out because he had small hands. He didn't like the circle change. So a lot of the guys with smaller hands, or the guys that backspin the ball well, I think kind of a splitter or a hybrid splitter or a kick change, those are coming in style really fast because guys with like those big carry fastballs, they overspin the fastball so much they can't kill spin on a changeup. So they end up very fastball slider dominant.
Sure.
And I think the kick change, splitter, hybrid split changes, those pitches in general are going to come in. And I know Bresnahan in particular has got a really good, like a kick change, split change. And it puts out like incredibly low spin on it, and gravity pulls down hard on it. So those are kind of my favorite because those are platoon neutral pitches, Glenn.
Sure.
So they work versus righties or lefties.
Awesome. That's very interesting. So we saved the best for last for you, and that's
Sure.
the Arizona Complex League, which you're right there. The games are played right at Papago Park. Beautiful Papago Park, by the way. And it's going to be fun to watch. You got the two lucky stars there. Josuar Gonzalez, Luis Hernandez will both be there playing for the Giants Arizona Complex League team. We know all about these kids. Gonzalez 18, Hernandez 17. This is a big deal, right? I mean, this is a big deal. These outside of Eldridge, these are the ones people want to know about, even though they're probably 3-4 years away from the big leagues. But Kyle, that's how excited Giants fans are about these two kids.
Yeah, I mean, they should be, and rightfully so. These are both talented young men here, and we're super excited to have them. A lot of hard work by our scouting department to get them going. And then obviously Joshua spent last year with our DSL team. So our PD staff's really emotionally involved there.
Mm-hmm.
I will add, there's a lot of good players on this Arizona League team that I'm excited about. I'm excited about Julian Barreto. I mean, look up his stats. He had a great year last year in the DSL as well.
Okay.
An infielder, Anthony Marquez. These are prospects in their own regard. And I could go around all Santiago Camacho and Henry Sanchez catching. We could go from catcher, and I think we'll put a legitimate high ceiling player at every position on the field for our Complex League. Yeah. And then the pitching.
That's exciting. You get to watch that every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, every day that I'm, at the Papago facility and not at one of the other affiliates. But the pitching too, there's some good young pitching. I think we're excited about some of their growth, kind of like we had last year with Keener and De La Torre. We think some guys can emerge from that group. And yeah, for those who don't know, the Arizona Complex here in Arizona, those are free admission. You can just walk in and cheer for the young men, and don't be too hard on them though. They're still growing. They still got a lot of. They're learning. They're not finished products. So go cheer for them, and they should be a really fun team to watch.
Hey Kyle, how big was it that the Luis Hernandez kid, who was only 17 years old, skipped the Dominican League, the Dominican Summer League? Because I know a lot was talked about that. Almost every one of these the Latin players that are signed at a very young age go to the DSL. It's almost automatic, right? But Hernandez did not. He came right to the States. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's kind of a traditional way of doing it. A little, not traditional. I don't want to say old school, but I think of Pablo Sandoval. Me and Pablo were teammates in rookie ball, and he was 18 or whatever it was, and he never played in the DSL.
Okay.
There's a few players I think of, like Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna. Those players, they really didn't have DSL experience, maybe instructional league. But yeah, it's becoming more and more rare for players to get that level, because the international kids don't play high school baseball or college baseball. So obviously the learning curve is pretty steep to join the Arizona League, or even if it's rookie ball, it's still a big jump. Mm-hmm. Now Luis, he did play in a, I guess we can call it like an independent league in Venezuela last year against former pros. He was by far the youngest players. Some of the guys played in AA, AAA, maybe a couple extra major leaguers that were they're maybe on the backside of their career, but he played in that league and played fantastic. And we felt like that kind of was a replacement for the DSL, so to speak. And that, since he played in that league, that kind of made him a little more ready for this jump.
And Kyle, I mean, both these kids are young. They're uber prospects. They're also both shortstops. And what it sounds like is they are both capable of probably staying at the shortstop position, not having to move somewhere else, at least initially. They're both going to be there. How will you divide up the innings with these two kids both playing shortstop?
Yeah, I think we'd still debate this a little bit. I think something like, I wouldn't be shocked to see Luis play shortstop and third base.
Okay.
And then also Joshua to play short and maybe their third or second. Joshua, they're kind of two different players. Luis, a little more refined, a little more very polished. Joshua is like super twitchy, huge range. Kind of just, they're two exciting players in two different fashions.
Okay.
So I still, I don't know. I flash back to myself playing short, and playing second always felt a little weird because it felt like you were looking in a mirror and the field was reversed. Like if the center field camera, well, I don't know, like I flash back to like old Yankee Stadium. I think they used to have the camera behind the second baseman instead of the shortstop. It always
Yeah.
pretty, but you know, we'll get them both on the field, and they're, you know, people are going to freak out when they see one of them not playing short, but the rules say we have to play. We can only play two guys on each side of the field, so we can't play two at shortstop the same game.
Kyle, you must be pleased though with the progress that your minor league system has made, because it has come a long ways in the last 3 or 4 years.
It has, yeah. I mean, we got a lot of excuses, and we're not going to make them, because the bottom line is every area is needed to put that championship team on the field, whether it be trades, whether it be promoting our homegrown guys, whether it be free agents or waivers or whatever, and you know, every area. But obviously it just means more when it's coming through your system and they started in rookie ball and they get up, and we want to make sure that you know, we're doing our part. But we have seen improvement. But at the end of the day, the farm system rankings are a waste of time. It's all about if you're putting stars on the field for your major league team, and that's what we want to see at the end of the day. But yeah, we've had a lot of great stories. I mean, a lot of low round picks are impacting our major league team. I actually, you know, I had our analyst run a stat. We're like 5th in WAR, homegrown WAR, over the last 3 years, believe it or not. I mean, Patrick Bailey carries that WAR stat pretty strong with his defense, but we've actually produced a lot of really good players from our system who've helped our major league team. But we need to get some of these guys up there to take the burden off Buster having to hand out, you know, big trades or big contracts.
Sure. And when Buster took over, it sounded like he made it clear that he wanted some changes made. Randy Wynn is now in charge, and Randy felt the same way. What are some of the emphasis now that maybe weren't quite as big emphasis before those guys took over? And are these things noticeable to you?
That's a great question. And I know this one gets talked about a lot. You know, I don't know if this is going to sound that popular. It's honestly, we've kind of had some really good processes and systems in place for a while. I think the biggest change is, you know, and this is nothing on Farhan, but when Buster comes down and says our catchers are going to block, it means something different when a guy who used to block.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Or, you know, so I think the messages, honestly, I know there's a lot said about this. There was a lot of, you know, exit velocity or pull in the air talk. That just simply didn't happen at all. We talked about well-rounded players, line drives to all fields. And there's so many different ways to make that happen. Strikes, sure. Commanded strikes. But I think the big one is, you know, Buster, he's so close to these players in age that when he's there supporting the message, you know, maybe it lands a little different, but for the most part, we haven't had massive changes. And we hired, you know, not to go into side topic, we hired Pete Putilla, who's coming from Houston, who, you know, Houston ran a great player development department. Scott Harris with the Cubs under Theo Epstein player development. And they all came in with the same mindset that this player development's operating at a high level. And I think Buster did as well.
Yeah. Hey, I thought it was interesting, and this may have been going on for a while. I don't know, but I was looking at the coaches, your minor league coaches, you know, names, anybody I recognize, and I saw where each one of the teams has a fundamentals coach. Is that new, or is that something that you guys have been doing for a while? And I thought it was interesting that, you know, you have a pitching coach, you have a hitting coach, maybe you have 2 hitting coaches, you know, whatever. But a fundamentals coach, what does a fundamentals coach do? And has this been around a while?
So we put that in 2018 was the first year, which was I was the assistant director, David Bell, who you know probably really well.
Absolutely.
That was actually David's idea. And then Farhan came in the next year, and then we just kind of continued with the same model. But essentially, it was somebody that's equivalent to a manager caliber visionary for fundamental baseball. So the manager in the dugout, one of the downsides for the minor leagues is the manager has to coach third base. You got to stare at the ball, right? You're kind of short staffed. So whether it be a primary or secondary lead, the manager can't ever kind of see it out of the corner of their eye, or whether somebody's backing up a base. So one message I give to fundamental coaches, I go, you're responsible for everything away from the baseball. So all the action of the 8 fielders not involved, they're constantly watching that.
Okay.
They have specialty positions during the game. They become de facto base running and base stealing coaches, and then they're responsible for all fundamentals across. Them and the manager kind of share those duties, but it's tough to be the manager. You can't be watching whether somebody's backing up and all of a sudden a balk happens and you don't know what's happening. You're going out the umpire and don't even know what you're arguing.
Yeah.
So
interesting stuff. Hey, Kyle, I'm going to let you go, but you are a great guest. I appreciate you coming on as always. When are you coming up to the Bay Area?
I think I'm going to come up, not this homestand, the next one. I'm going to make my minor league rounds first, and then I'll head up for that next homestand after this one. Got to go to Richmond, brand new stadium in Richmond. So
that's right. I saw that. Carmax Park, right? Carmax Park.
Carmax Park. It is amazing. So I'll be there and then miss the homestand, and then I'll come back the next one.
Great. I'll see you then. Kyle, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Glenn.
All right. So Kyle Haynes, the Senior Director of Player Development for the San Francisco Giants, has been our guest. He's a good man. He's a good man. He works really hard, and he has the minor league system for the Giants heading in the right direction, and that's a big deal. That is a big, big deal. So I hope you enjoyed our first minor league edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. It's just fun to kind of hear, somebody who's running the minor leagues, just kind of hear how they go about things, how they evaluate different players, and it's also fun to hear about these prospects that we know the names, we've seen them now in spring training, we've seen highlights of them, but also what are they looking for? What's the front office looking for? What do they want to see it from an improvement standpoint from these young players? So good stuff all around. And again, we thank Kyle for joining us. So that's it for tonight's show. I want to let you know that the show is brought to you by Partners Capital LLC. It's a wealth management firm providing financial strategies for elite performance and lasting peace of mind. Partners Capital, it's your partner for a stronger financial future. Give them a call if you have questions. 1-888-702-7743. We are also brought to you in part by Area Rug Cleaning Direct. Area Rug Cleaning Direct will pick up and return your area rug looking brand new within 5 business days if it needs repair or if it just needs cleaning. Pretty good deal. Family owned, proudly serving the Bay Area for over 35 years. It's Area Rug Cleaning Direct. Call them at 925-933-9999. And don't forget to visit the new Original Joe's in Walnut Creek. It's been open for a while now. Awesome place. The vibes are great. The food's delicious. The service is ridiculously good. It's open for lunch, dinner. They got a great weekend brunch that they throw out there. So good stuff all around. Great place. Check it out. It's the new Original Joe's in Walnut Creek. All right, before we head out, I just want to check to make sure there's no more comments. Nope, we are clean with the comments. So that's it for tonight's show. Wanted to remind you that tomorrow I'm going to do another show. Why not? I'm on a roll. So there'll be a Glen Kuiper show tomorrow night, live from the ballpark. So we'll do that at 6 o'clock, and we'll lead you right up into first pitch from Oracle Park. It'll be the Giants and the New York Mets, the first of 4. So we'll preview that. We'll go over some great stories that are going on around Major League Baseball for the first week of the season, all that and more. Again, that'll be tomorrow, 6 o'clock, pregame show, next edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. We'll have it live from Oracle Park. So we'll see you tomorrow night at 6. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Thanks again to Kyle Haynes, and have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow night at the ballpark, Giants and the Mets. See you later, everybody.